Hour 2 Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan, and look what we have here. Mike Johnson in studio around the table. Looking good, feeling good, I hope.
Must be playoff time if I'm in the studio for any reason. Although,
Yes.
I will say this. I did notice a large contingent of TSN people at a certain a certain golf location.
Yes, we were at Golf Town yesterday. You picked up on that.
Zero invite for him.
You missed out on the invite.
invite?
Apparently I don't play golf.
Yeah, you missed out on the invite.
I don't know what it is. It's
It must be outside the circle of trust.
apparently not in the Trust Street one bit.
I guess not. You're
You
right
pay
about
for
that.
your things, and there was freebies left and right. I guarantee you.
We were kissing babies and shaking hands.
That was all about the production.
That was all about the production.
That was not about freebies.
Yeah, that was actually purely a production thing.
I've said this
What do you want
before.
us to do?
Look
You
at
got
him. He's
invited
got
over
the,
there?
I mean,
the yellow on his face.
We were
I
there.
didn't even know that many people that played golf at TSN.
I
Yet
know.
somehow, I'm not even. Hey, are you in town?
There's a lot of
Dude, the
people.
guy that took the pic did you dirty. He should have noticed the light and said,
I know.
Yeah, what's going on with your eyes right there? Look.
It's the
I
light
saw
from the
picture,
laser,
And
and-
you know when you try to crop a photo or something, you touch it the second time and the highlights.
Yeah.
That's what looked like happened.
I know,
The
it's-
second touch highlighter over your face.
It
and
really
he's
is.
got blue steel going. Like,
Yeah, he was locked in.
Is that Carlo
Oh.
in the middle?
Yeah, Carlos
Yeah,
right in the
Carlos
Of
middle.
course, Carlos there.
Carlos there, Duffy's there. I mean, everyone's in there. And yeah, you're right. I got really jobbed.
Everyone's in there.
I got really
Everyone's there.
jobbed. Everyone's there.
Yeah, is that right?
Everyone's there. Next time, Johnny, we'll get you in there. I mean, I don't know who it was. Team O-Dog versus Team Weeks. Send Bobby Weeks. Look at Bob right in the middle too. Like that's just an esteemed gentleman.
It was his birthday yesterday, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah. I
I
thought
hope
saw it on
not, because
Twitter.
I went right past him and didn't say
James
a word.
Nutty tweeted out Bob Weeks' happy birthday. I swear
Was it Weeks' birthday
or
yesterday?
2 days ago.
We didn't acknowledge that?
I had no idea, man.
You're
How
too
am I
busy
supposed to
counting
know
your-
where Bobby
You're a
Weeks-
couple dozen free balls.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, there you go, Bob.
Free hat.
In one hand, up the
Happy
next.
birthday, yeah.
Bob's walking out of there with 10 boxes of TP5. But anyway, it's good to see you here. You guys are all here, I guess, for the big preview show tonight.
Yeah.
But you have to make a prediction.
I do.
Is that what's coming?
I got to pick all the Canadian series for the Mystic Mike segment.
Okay.
I got to pick. I think we all have to pick all the way to the Stanley Cup final, whatever.
Right. Before the
So-
year, you started with Edmonton.
I started with Edmonton. I have them going very deep still.
Yes. Not winning.
I have them going very, very deep.
Okay.
But not perhaps.
I think they got a huge boost last night.
yes.
Playing LA instead of Vegas.
So
What a setup.
we're like I think the Leafs have a preferential matchup. Not easy.
Yep.
They're not even favorite, but they would be a bigger underdog against Florida.
Yes.
It's a worse matchup for Toronto.
Right.
I think the Canucks prefer Nashville over Vegas.
Yes.
Right.
I think the Oilers prefer Kings over Vegas. I think all three of those teams really kind of stumbled into good matchups. Doesn't mean they're going to win. Doesn't mean they can't lose. But if you're just to take a step back and ever be honest, like we probably would rather play the team we're playing than who might have been the alternative a couple days ago.
And how about it happened on the last games of the season? We've been talking about Florida for weeks. Ottawa goes in, beats Boston, and the Leafs go in and beat Florida. That's it was crazy. Or
Yeah,
Florida,
it was
sorry,
Florida ends up-
beat,
but the
beat
Leafs were up 2-0
right.
at that point.
Right,
You're like, all right, this is locked in. It's going to be
but
Toronto, Florida.
That ended. That might change the course
Of everything.
Of everything. Same thing on the other side. Like Edmonton could have. Again, I still think they're in top. Not in top. but
They're not in
Didn't
top.
Vegas lose to Anaheim?
They did last
Yes.
night. I was watching
That
the
a
game.
mail-in? Do you think they threw? Why would you throw that away to get Dallas
But-
and then Colorado
Right.
and Winnipeg in the second round?
And yeah.
Like
And they played-
Edmonton's really
and they
good,
played their
but-
starter. But didn't Hill play last night?
Yes, Hill played and allowed a bad short side goal.
Frankie Vetrano. another
Vetrano
three.
scored the third goal, and then the fourth one was an empty netter. That's what I'm saying. I think this week changed the course of what's going to happen in the Stanley Cup Final.
I totally agree. At a minimum, what it's going to do is if these teams lose in the first round, I'll use Edmonton as probably the most prominent example. You're really going to take heat now. Like
Yeah.
if they lost to Vegas in 7, it's
Healthy, stone back,
exactly
loaded up.
You
defending
lose to
champs.
LA,
Right.
You're going to get roasted there.
Well, they shouldn't.
They shouldn't lose to LA.
Cam Talbot
Yeah.
had a nice year, right? He's
Right.
a good goalie, but you're
Oh, it sets
Edmonton.
up really well for the Oilers.
It sets up really well for a Vancouver Edmonton second round.
Yes, it does.
Which means a Canadian team in the conference final. So yeah,
That would be sick.
absolutely.
Vancouver, Edmonton.
That'd be a
second
great,
round.
I
great
think-
series.
Vancouver's probably a 62% favorite, 62-38 series.
Really? That high, eh?
I think so. I think Edmonton's probably about the same. Like that's very high. You know, I think the two Metro Division series
I would
are
have
highest.
to go to my metrics to qualify.
Yeah, we'll punch our own numbers, Johnny.
Okay.
You send us what you have. We'll
All right,
send you what we have.
Cross-reference with your program.
Yeah.
Bo.
Well, I mean, with Leafs-Bruins, I took some heat yesterday. I ranked. Now, I was working under the presumption Vegas would win last night. It was going to be Vegas-Edmonton. But now it just basically flips to Dallas-Vegas in terms of making it more difficult to predict who's going to win. But I had Leafs-Bruins the most difficult series of the 8 for me to determine a winner. And I've noticed a lot of the odds would suggest that that's probably how the majority of people feel. It's pretty close to a coin flip. And obviously, we know the Leafs. We know their demons. We'll get to Willie in a second. But from Boston's perspective, because a lot of Leaf fans hyper-focused on their own team. Naturally, you watch 82 games of your own team. You see the Bruins like 4 times. Maybe you're out for dinner on the Saturday night games. You don't catch it all. Like, from a Bruins perspective, and I've been saying this the last couple of days, I don't think it's being brought up enough. They choked in the first round last year. That's a demon that could be hanging over them. And a lot of the main players of the past, the Charas, the Lucics, the Bergerons, the Krejcis, they're not there anymore. Like, this is a different team. Past is a beast. Marchand's still there. But this is a different group. How do you think it sets up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty well established that Boston's plays a better system. They probably have a better defense core, largely because Charlie McAvoy is really at his best.
True
one of the best
number
in the
one.
world. True top 7 defensemen in the world. And the biggest difference between these two teams in Boston's favor is they got goalies.
Yeah.
And Olmark has been awesome down the stretch. So, like, that's where the difference, like, Samsonov, quite a bit behind what Boston can put up. But the flip side, where Toronto's better, their offense is better. Their power play is better. And so that's sort of the back and forth. But I was looking into it in my research, my numbers, my metrics.
Yeah.
But everyone's talking about the baggage. They've lost them several times. Only 5 guys on the team this year for Toronto played in 2019. Now it's the big 5,
Yes.
so that matters more than a random 5.
Yeah.
Yes.
But there is no scar tissue, no history. All the other 18 skaters could give nothing
Right.
about.
That's ass.
Including
Including the coach.
it doesn't matter to any of them.
Coach wasn't there either.
No. So, this sort of in their head Boston boogeyman does not exist.
What's interesting is if you remember in 19, that was basically the end of Babcock. Remember, he stormed off the podium, wouldn't take questions, took off.
I asked him, why'd you put Patrick Marleau out there? He hasn't
Yeah.
scored in forever. And he's like,
Yeah, and then he disappeared. And, 8 months later, he was gone. Like,
Right.
Dubas took over, I believe, that summer, possibly, or real close. No, I guess he was the one before because Tavares was there at that point. But, Keefe is new. The other players are completely new. Yet, the 5 are the ones that have been here the longest.
Right.
And they're the ones that naturally have to pull the most weight. And if Willie, if he misses tomorrow,
That changes everything to me.
changes a lot, doesn't it?
Well, the way the lines were set up to play in the playoffs, having him on the third line, like that was what a trump card, what a luxury. A player, 100-point guy on a third line, playing third line matchups against third line D pairs with potentially other talented offensive players.
I think it's hogwash to say that it changes everything. I'm sick and tired of seeing other teams where they go 2 or 3 months without Eichel, without Theodore, without Pietrangelo, and all they do is win. And now we're looking at this, and it's like, what? It's just, it completely changes. They're on, like, it's a big... Somebody else has got to step up and play.
But I think like the Leafs won without Morgan Riley. The Leafs won without Mitch Marner. It's not like they pack it in when they don't have their best players.
Right.
But you're talking about a series when everyone's healthy. That is a coin toss. So the margins are super fine.
That'll
So-
give you.
I
But
appreciate you giving me that much.
Robertson, step up and make a play. You're not William Nylander.
This is what I thought though. When Willie played up lame and McMahon probably won't play,
Right.
that probably gets him in game 1, Nick Robertson. And I think, like, I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not, whatever. But what has held Toronto back in all these playoffs, largely? Not being able to score a goal. Not giving up too many, not their goalies being crappy. It's they haven't been able to score when it matters. And we always look to the best players who maybe we could, 2-2 game, like find a way to get a goal.
Right.
But if Nick Roberts, he's a guy who can find a way to get you one. Like last year when they beat Tampa, I was watching the hype reels. Kerfoot got an overtime goal, right? Didn't he get like a tip or a late tip in goal,
Yeah,
whatever?
you're right,
Like,
he did.
Like randoms, like You don't need them all the time. You just need once.
You need
Yeah.
you
One
need
in the
somebody-
series. And I think Robertson's going to give you that more often than even McMahon would. Right?
Well, and that's the question once these guys return. I mean, you know when Willie can play, he's playing. I believe when McMahon can play, he's playing.
he will.
They're going to put him in,
100%.
which means Robertson's probably going to come out.
Yeah.
But if Yarncroke is available, it opens up the door for Reeves likely coming out. I would assume maybe Dewar's the guy that comes out. But if Yarncroke is healthy and he's playing, he's going to play.
Yeah. I mean, so the question is, do you play Yarncroke in the middle or do you play Holmberg there?
Well, see, this is what is scary. I agree with your premise that those guys, like Robertson, has the capabilities of breaking something loose.
Mm-hmm.
He's the kind of guy that could break loose on a 2-on-1 or something like that and create and score. But if you know the way coaches are wired, Keefe is going to be terrified of that line. Robertson, Holmberg, Yarncroke coming off injury on the road. He's going to be terrified of
Or
that line.
Nylander.
Or Willie, for that matter. Yes, but Willie is capable of giving you enough where he can break a game open where you can accept it. But like Holmberg and Robertson on a line together in Boston is a scary proposition for
you
coaches.
look at the bottom six, that doesn't scare anybody.
Yeah, that's
what
not
I'm
going to
saying.
scare.
And we're talking about
now the Bruins.
Now,
the
hang
same
on.
thing. You look
Exact
at the
same
Bruins,
thing. You
it's
lay
not
them on
scary
top
at
of
Look
all.
at Charlie Coyle and look at Pavel Zach and be like, whoa.
Yeah.
Who's terrified of that?
Right.
I'm terrified of Pasternak. That guy is.
Sicko.
Yeah.
And
Sicko.
like, there is no system, there is no moment, there is no matchup that is going to bother him or shut him
You know,
down.
It's funny. You guys were talking about that. We ran a board the other night against Boston. These stats were unbelievable.
I know that. I
Did you
know
see
what
that?
you're doing. Yes.
Bergeron and
yeah.
Krejci, their points, Coyle and Zaka, exact same points,
In terms of the regular season.
regular season, than the previous year. Like exact.
I mean, not exact, but
Well, 25 and 20,
they're talking goals.
27 goals, points, 58, 56, 60, 58.
Okay, what's 58 and 60? 58 and 56,
Coyle and
114.
Zaka, and
60
Krejci and
118.
Bergeron.
All right. So
Yeah, it's virtually the same. Not exactly the same.
yeah,
They
around
add
the
up
same
to slightly
ballpark
different
based on
numbers.
points.
The exact same numbers.
Yeah,
Exact.
those two guys have a cup and have cup finals.
Oh yeah,
and like
those two.
Bergeron and
That could be the
58,
same, but very different.
yeah,
at the same
exactly.
time.
I think that's where not okay. It doesn't.
And
You guys
118
can
for the other guys.
But I'm exact same.
work your math out off
There
the
you
air.
go.
No
Yeah.
one can see the thing that you're showing each other on
But
your
it's-
phone.
But it's
My point
wild that
being
those
is-
two guys outperform production-wise Bergeron and Krejci
What
from
I'm
last
saying
year.
Yes.
is careful when you go, oh, you know what, it's not Bergeron and Krejci. Those guys are really good players.
Okay,
Right.
okay, but
They are.
So look at that board. Fair enough. Coyle had an awesome year.
Right.
And Zaka plays with Pasta for sure. Who would you rather play?
Oh, I chose the Leafs to win this series.
But of those two pairs, everyone would
saying
rather
obviously
play
those
this
two.
year's version.
You want Bergeron and Krejci, but again, you were getting them last year at 37 years old.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are a lot younger.
Yes.
and move,
Yeah.
and they can skate, and they're talented. Like,
right.
Just,
I think that is an important point to make. That by the end, Bergeron was hurt last year. Krejci, obviously, he was done. He
Right.
left. He came back. So the points are one thing, but what always terrorized, I think, oppositions with Krejci and Bergeron was their ability in their own zone. Where that's not the case with it. I think Zach is okay. I think Coyle's pretty good, but there's no like Bergeron up against 34. It would be like Bergeron's probably going to win that battle. Like Matthews might
Because he wins it against everyone.
because he
Right,
wins it
yeah.
against everybody, every corner of the ice. That is not the same thing with Coyle or Zaka, where what this does is emphasize that Matthews, which is what should be the case. No one's
Right.
suggesting that in Colorado is going to beat Winnipeg without McKinnon being the best player.
He's got to
Right.
beat Scheifele.
He's got to beat Scheifele.
Yeah.
Matthews has got to dominate.
Exactly.
He's got to be a stud.
Again, in sort of reading about this series, the idea that, between a Coyle and a McAvoy, they can somehow corral Austin. This year, when Matthews was out there against McAvoy 505, Matthews crushed him.
Mm-hmm.
He only scored one goal against Boston, but like the shot differential, the
Yeah.
expected dominant performances at 5-on-5 by Auston Matthews over McAvoy. So I think it larger, like we've talked about this for a long time. Those guys, those best players, Matthews,
be the best.
Marner, Nylander, lesser extent Tavares at this point, they have to be better than everyone on Boston. Every single player except for Pasternak.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do that, they have a very good chance of winning.
Very good chance. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I mean, Matthews, the idea of him scoring every single night is not realistic in the playoffs, but there's no reason why he doesn't, get 7-8 shots a night, 2 or 3 from the slot. Like he's got to. He's capable of doing that.
Who do you think Boston? I don't know why our buddy Jimmy is so coy about who's starting, and who do you think they go with?
I think they're going with the unprecedented rotation. They've gone.
I can't
Did
believe
I just
I'm
tell you
even
guys
hearing this.
yesterday?
No, I
You're
hear you.
arguing with me,
I'll
and I'm
believe
like-
it when I see it, but and I are aligned here. I think that's ridiculous.
If you look
You've
at
got two
their
of the best
teams-
goalies in the league.
I know, but what if Allmark stands on his head tomorrow night? You've committed to a plan to go back to Swayman. Why would you do that?
because you've done it for 40 games and they've been
But
awesome.
it's the playoffs. You're not playing Columbus in game 2. Like
This
that.
is the rhythm of the team.
Yeah.
This is what they know.
That's classic overthinking, in my professional opinion. Like, seriously.
I agree.
If a guy stands on his head and it's like, the rhythm of our team is you're not. What is it, John Schneider behind the
But
bench?
what you're
for the
asking,
Bruins?
what you're asking guys that play 40 games in a
Jesus
season,
Murphy.
you're asking them to play. You're asking them to get out of their comfort zone. Like you're asking them to go, okay, this is how they play, and this is how this team. I think you are going to see both goaltenders start on.
I think they
instinct,
go 1, 2, 3, Allmark, Swayman, Allmark,
and then sort.
then
it
we'll
out.
figure it out.
That's where I feel.
Barrios
Like
to
At the end of the day-
Kikuchi. Barrios and Kikuchi are
Yeah.
starting for the
But
Bruins.
keep in
and
mind-
Vladdy will get caught stealing second. Like, it's just, you guys have your theory and why they're going to do it. Jamie played the position. I still think it's insane.
But you know
I
what?
think
You've
it's
got
insane.
2 top tier guys. It's not. This isn't Al's brother and JP playing net and going, okay, let's hope one of these guys play. One guy won the Vezina last year, and the other guy might have had better
Noodles, I
numbers.
totally get what they are, and I totally get what both of you guys are thinking. When has it been done before?
Well, that's the thing. It's and
Like-
the old saying, and I'm going to butcher. I'm going to George Bush.
Here
this,
we
but
go.
it's-
Fool me once.
Fool me once.
It's not the fool me once.
Hard
but
words beat
basically, if you have 2 starters,
You don't have one.
You don't have one.
Agreed.
Oh, you cleaned that up pretty nicely.
I actually did because
Yeah.
Noodles came in over the top and helped me.
I've said that.
I've
though,
stolen
before.
that from Noodles.
I've said that. I've heard you say it
Good
before,
line.
and I've
It's a
stolen
good
it
line.
If you have 2, then you don't have one.
because you're always second guessing. Going, what if that guy loses? You go, why didn't you stick with that guy?
Right.
It causes a little bit of dissension, but keep in mind.
Stick your head up a bull's ass, too.
Wouldn't you rather take the butcher's word for it? Absolutely.
This is how that team has been wired. They got away from it last year, and it cost them. Allmark wasn't, by the time Allmark kind of faded
They
out,
should have rotated last
they
year.
should have rotated last year.
They were
That's
3-1 in the series, though, with Allmark.
They should have rotated, though, Hayes. They would have closed it out.
They would have, and then they went.
Then
to
they pulled a
Swayman.
panic move with
In game
with the
7.
dirty pair of shorts and
Yeah.
switched, and they lost.
I just feel like there's options there, and the team is comfortable with both of them in the net.
It's unconventional, clearly.
Incredibly.
And keep in mind, now this is untraditional, but we've talked about it. If there isn't a clear-cut one, you're probably going to use both. Look at Washington won the cup. It was Grubauer that started, then to Holtby. Matt Murray, or Marc-Andre Fleury to
Murray.
Matt Murray. Like,
Yeah,
there has
Vegas
been.
had Aiden Hill their
Vegas
third stringer.
had Larry
Right.
Brossoit start. Then it was Aiden Hill. It might not, like,
But
teams,
that wasn't premeditated.
Yeah. No.
Like, those are
Those
different
were
stories. Yes.
Performance and medical-based
Right.
decisions.
Like, if Flower took off, Murray would have
and you
never
wouldn't
played.
say if Allmark stumbles in game 1, you're like, yeah, okay, Swayman's gonna
Okay,
play.
then that's
That makes sense.
reasonable.
But I just, I think that's, and especially because last year they didn't,
yeah.
and they flamed out.
This feels like a baseball move, and I would guess if Montgomery's going to do it, he's had to sign that off with Sweeney.
I'm sure they've had
Like
that
Sweeney would
conversation.
have to be
Yeah.
like, I agree with this, or I'm telling you to do it. I find it hard to believe a coach would just say, I'm going with it.
Well, keep in
And-
mind, it's the luxury. Like, you've got 2 really good ones.
But
So
again,
it's
like,
not-
let me set the scene for you. Allmark stands on his head tomorrow night,
Right.
wins the game. Swayman goes in game 2. The Leafs tie it up. Leafs win in 7. What are people in Boston going to say?
Should've
What the
started
hell
Allmark.
were you doing in game 2?
Yeah, there's
How
your-
dare you? That's a fireable. That I don't think you ever come back from.
We just-
that in Boston
no,
would ruin.
you know what?
I
They
think it
came
would
back-
end
we just had
in Montgomery.
135 points rotating these guys virtually every other game. We just won the division, or almost won the division, rotating these guys every other game.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of them has the makeup to play all the time. None of them are Marty Brodeur. This is who they are. Allmark, we know, can't.
Right.
Swayman hasn't shown he can. This is what we do.
Yeah.
And so we're doing it on the way. Like, why would we change? Why would we? You dance to the goal you brought there.
Yeah,
That's the
we got
saying.
all the sayings.
We got all the cliches
Right?
today.
We got 'em
And
all.
you know what? Like, I thought of
We
it.
got
I
'em
brought
all.
it up to you guys yesterday, and you chewed me out about
No,
it.
listen. Now I'm
And-
I'm thinking
and-
you guys might be onto something
It's
here.
just, again, I have no
It's not about a
verification. out of
prediction.
this.
It's my stance on whether
Well, hey.
the theory.
Yeah.
I think it's a silly.
Whether it happens or not is
decision.
indifferent. It's like you wouldn't do it.
I
It's a bad idea
personally
to
think
you.
you're
Well,
asking
and-
for trouble.
But you know what? It didn't work last year. Like, you want to talk about fireable fences and stuff. You just talked about pressures on them. They pissed away a 3-1 lead last year.
Yeah.
And they won the President's Trophy and were up 3-1. And Marchand had a breakaway in Game 5.
Has
After
to
a
close it.
record-setting
7 seconds left.
season.
So, fireable fences and that's probably last year. This year, we're looking at it going, we're going to look at it a different way. We're going with what we believe in and not straying from
Listen,
it.
it'll take stones if they do that. I will credit them for having the courage to do that because
Now,
it would be a
how
courageous.
about
It might not
Braves
happen. I'm just
It's going
talking out
to
of it.
happen.
It's probably going to happen.
So what's more likely? That we see 2 goalies in Boston's crease in the first 3 games or 2 goalies in Toronto's crease in the first 3
Seems
games?
like Boston, based on what you guys are saying.
Do you think, but do
Yeah,
you think
they're
we see
going to
Toronto?
do it. There's a 2-pack right there.
Well,
Do you think? What do you think the chance of Toronto getting
I think it's a
both?
legitimate question how long the leash is for Samsonov.
Yeah.
Like if he struggles tomorrow, like it's bad.
well,
What do you do?
Hayes, if it comes to that, they're in big time trouble.
Yes,
because
of
the
course.
kid he hasn't been himself since the injury, and they'll have a serious problem in net. Like it'll be a massive advantage Bruins if it gets to that after Game 1.
He gets 2 games probably, right?
I think too, but I thought it was weird that he didn't, they
Kept him away.
kept him away all week. He allowed, 6 and 5? He allowed 11 goals in his last 2 starts.
Yeah, not
right?
a lot of shots either.
And not, it didn't look great.
Jersey, Detroit.
Yeah, it didn't look great. But he had been
worried.
playing very well leading up to that. So you're like, okay, we want to stop the bleeding here, and we're going to reset you again and just let you practice until Game 1 of Boston. So we'll see how that happens. I think he's got 2-game buffer, and if not, it's something else.
I'm curious. Oh, you've gone obviously deep in the playoffs, the final, and everything else. Like, how much can you erase sort of a bad finish? Like, if you remember ever going to the playoffs, like I hadn't scored in 5 games or something, you're like, it doesn't matter now because you're starting fresh, or carry forward. Like, I wonder, the entire Leaf team is just casting aside the last 12 days. Like, it didn't happen. Keith's like, I don't know the score of the games. I was scouting Boston in the middle of Tampa. Like, none of it matters. But they played poorly at times.
Yeah.
Like, did you find that you could do that? Like, I get how stat lines are all 0.
Johnny, I think Patrick Maroon said it best. He's like, the playoffs are about who's got it and who doesn't. And if you got it, you just go out there and play. Understanding you're a good player, but you can't be one-dimensional in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Like Auston Matthews can contribute offensively by absolutely steamrolling Charlie McAvoy in the corner. Mitch Marner could pick up the puck and make a pass. That's a contribution that's not for the norm for him. Because all we think about the norm is goal scoring. You have to contribute different ways. If you're just going out there saying, I'm a great player, everyone tells me how great I am all year, and I have to produce offense, and that's your way of looking at it, you're screwed. You don't have a chance to win.
What do we
Or
make,
succeed.
What do we make of Keith's comments about Willie not caring down the stretch, and now he might not be playing tomorrow night? Like, there may not be a connection to what's going on with him, but it was a weird comment to say
I don't love it.
Willie didn't care about
He
the
said
rest of the season.
Willie sort of showed that he was through with the regular season the last couple weeks.
Right.
And that is true. Like, William Nylander's performance has dropped off in the last couple weeks.
He put the spotlight on himself.
But
That's
if
what
the
he
coach
did.
acknowledges it, then it's almost like coach should maybe have tried to correct it and not just let it go.
Is he protecting him, understanding that it didn't go so well?
Maybe. And maybe, but don't say anything.
Yeah.
Will he be ready to go for Game 1? He's an awesome player. Leave it at that.
Right.
You don't need to say, well, he kind of packed it in the last couple weeks.
Right.
And, you got a $90 million extension to play 82 games in the playoffs.
Play 82
Not
in the
to get
playoffs.
sick of the season at 75 games. So it was unusual because one of those ones where sort of unnecessary.
Well, it also coincided with Marner's return and Willie moving down, which
You think he was pouting? No.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what was going on with Willie, but he didn't play well. He played his worst hockey the last 2 weeks of the year. And again, I like the strategy. I like spreading the wealth, but that means someone is technically on the third line, and it's the guy who was on pace for 100 points, 120 or whatever that.
Although in the end, I think he ended up with fewer points per game than Mitch.
Yeah, well, not exactly.
But points per game, Marner was second on the team, and Willie was third.
Interesting.
The other thing, though, coming back to the comments, Sheldon Keefe, it seems like maybe this last 4 months, he's doing it his way.
He doesn't care.
He's saying things.
He knows if they get dumb.
Well,
Yeah,
but
there's a
I'm
lot on the
just
line
saying,
for him, but I
this
like it.
this
He might
is a
not be
guy-
the only one. It's got a lot on the line.
I
There's
totally
a lot,
agree
but
with
I'm saying he's shooting from the hip, where before it was like, very careful with his words, very massaged. They want to backtrack the next day, and that. It's just like, hey, didn't like this, didn't like. Like, I got to respect him for that.
Yeah.
He's doing it his way. He's speaking his mind. You should get credit for that. Like, even though we don't like it, it's kind of cringeworthy on certain things. It's like, that's what he thinks.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Go to sink or swim.
Exactly.
Go do it your own way.
Does seem fitting that, like, what goes around comes around. They're back against Boston, and it really could be the final chapter. It could be
For the team as we know it.
It really could be. You know, like that, it feels like it should be, although past history would suggest don't ever predict that that's going to happen, because Shanahan and company have been very consistently patient and just saying we're going to keep punching a ticket, and one year it's going to break our way. But it does feel like a pretty monumental moment against probably the team it should. Because if you lose to Boston again, I can't even get to that point with how the fan base is going to react to it. But if you beat Boston, the fan base is going to be elated, and it again, it's much like last year getting past Tampa. It's a pillar that's got to go down.
Right.
Like, you want to prove you've learned, because they've said it countless times for 8 years, learning experiences. You can't beat this Bruins team. You're never beating that Bruins team.
That's exactly
with this
right.
group.
Yeah.
This
Exactly
is your
right.
moment to prove it's different.
Have you made your predictions yet?
We're going to do it next.
Okay, I'll be listening.
I hope so. Go
wanna
grab some
join us
Boston
for it?
pizza.
There
join us
is
for the
a
prediction.
feed on outside.
There's none left.
I gotta go tape segment where I do my predictions.
Oh, you're doing the Mystic
I'm
Mike?
doing Mystic Mike now.
So where are you at quickly with the Canadian teams? How many get to the second round?
2.
You have 2 in the second round.
I'm not going to say who. Until we
Edmonton's
watch
one of them.
You know, well, you just look at what I said. You know which 2 they are,
Edmonton's one of them.
and the other one.
Vancouver,
Yeah.
Mystic Mike,
And I'll say this.
Boston,
As-
Colorado.
I'll say this as a
Sarah Orlesky, line 1.
I'll say
Sarah
this as a
Orlesky,
hedge.
line 1.
I don't. If I was like to make a wager, I would not bet on Boston, Toronto, or Winnipeg, Colorado, because I don't know.
too much of a coin
close.
flip. I agree
don't
with
feel
you.
confident one way or the other.
I agree
So
with
I have to pick. So I do.
Yeah.
But I don't feel super confident one way or the other. They're both
agree.
basically pick'ems.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I agree. I totally agree. The other
Although
tough
I
matchups.
think Vegas would agree with me that Colorado is the favorite. And
yes,
so
they are.
is Boston.
FanDuel's got Colorado, I think, at -120, and I think the Bruins are -120.
Yeah.
I think
So-
they're both.
And he's
Which
Mystic-
again,
Mystic Mike. So
Mystic
he's
there
Mike.
we go.
back up his.
All right. Good luck with that.
I need
Good
it.
luck with
Thanks.
that. All right, there's Mike Johnson, our TSN hockey analyst. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. Mail It In Fridays brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. This playoffs, we need to cheer like we've never cheered before with the fans we've always cheered against. The cup needs to come home, and you need to catch all the action at your local BP sports bar. We had our little own Boston Pizza set up right outside of the studio. We did, past tense. Sean dropped off so much food. We can't thank you enough, and we've been feeding half of TSN ever since. It's great.
Yeah.
All of TSN.
Everyone's having a good time.
Joe from the Bridge had a couple circle backs.
I saw Joe from the Bridge. That head of his popped through that window a couple different times.
Isn't he in like a control room somewhere? Is he just
Yeah.
setting the camera and running down and grabbing slices and running back?
Yeah, he's like our pilot for the Rockies.
Yeah.
You know, he should be
Taking pictures.
in the pilot
Taking
seat.
pictures.
He's over
yeah,
there
he's supposed to be in
getting
the pilot
Boston
seat. Guaranteed he handed it off to one of his buddies.
Yeah.
Oh, the grappler had a signature move too. He used to grab one of those carts that you use at like a Home Depot or something, and he'd load up all the food right
Yeah.
to the car. Gotta go, guys. See ya.
Yeah, the grappler.
He had a few
He'd leave
moves.
early too.
He's probably over there. I'll bet because he's back in the fold, right? He
That's
got
right.
obviously baby grappler arrived, which is
yeah.
great. Everyone's doing well. Everyone's happy and healthy, and bet you I wouldn't be shocked at all if the grappler sniffed the Boston Pizza drop off.
Take a pie home for the fam.
blending it down for the baby.
Yeah, of course. All right, you guys want to get to some predictions here?
Yes.
You guys ready to go? You want to start in the East? Why don't we start in the East? Okay.
Sure.
Why don't we start with the Rangers and the Capitals? Who do we like?
Just slam dunk it across the board.
The Rangers across the board. I have the Rangers in 5. On FanDuel, the Rangers to win the series is -410, which is a massive amount of juice.
Big number.
Like, the play probably is to just wing it in the playoffs and pray Washington can win. But
Give me 2-1 on 500 for a sweep.
for a sweep? No,
know,
because I could see a
Washington's getting
sweep.
a
I could
game.
see a sweep. I could see a
28
sweep.
under. You know what?
No,
tournament?
I like the Rangers in 5, but they could sweep. I think it's more likely it ends in 4 than it does in 6.
Really?
I think the Rangers are going to crush them. I
So
just
do
don't
I.
think the Caps are that good. They're goal differential.
500 on a
was-
sweep.
No.
All right,
2
fine.
to 1. 2 to 1.
No, I'm not giving you odds on a sweep. I guess
Okay,
I'll give you
straight
odds.
up.
I'll give you straight up. All right, whatever you want. Lock it in.
Washington's getting one game.
Washington, I need to get one.
Washington's
game. I'm rooting
getting
for
a game.
Washington, one game.
And they lose 7-0. You tell me which game it is.
All right. So we're all on the Rangers, right? Okay, Canes, Islanders. Canes on FanDuel to win the series, minus 345.
That's
Islanders
like a
plus
standard
270.
6-game series. I think they've done that the last 2 times they play. I'm going to say Canes in 6.
I have the Canes in 6, but I would not be surprised if this went 7 or the Islanders got it.
You know the X factor.
The guy in net?
Oh, yeah.
How about Patrick Waugh behind the bench? Is there anything him and Rod Brindamore fighting in between periods?
Well, I think
that'd be a crazy little back and forth. Those are the 2 most intense people in the league.
I feel like Patrick Waugh is kind of an intimidating guy behind the bench anyways, like even for other goalies. So you can imagine him, if he makes an offhand comment in the media about Freddie
Anderson.
Freddie or something like, no, I don't
Not a fan of his style.
And all of a sudden it gets into your head,
him.
he plants it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like my guy way better than that guy.
I like that.
Like if he does a little, because I wouldn't put it past Patrick. I think this is going the distance. I still think Carolina wins. I've had Carolina all year long.
Mm-hmm.
I said that. I think my prediction at the start of the year was Carolina winning the Cup. Now, I don't have them winning this time, but they're right there.
Okay.
They're a hell of a team.
I'd love to see Carolina Rangers in the second round. I mean, that would be a great series. All right, Florida, Tampa. Florida minus 184 to win the series on FanDuel.
I'm going to go Tampa upset, man. I don't know why. I just got that jive. I don't know why.
Okay.
I have Florida in 7, but this is going the distance. This is going to be a bloodbath. This is going to whoever crawls out of that series is going to limp into the second round, whatever it is, because both these teams have a hate on for each other. And it wasn't that long ago. It was Tampa that was the team that beat up on Florida. Now Florida's flipped a switch. I think Florida gets them, but man, I watched them both live the other day, and they're both serious teams.
Yeah. Well, I'm on Florida too. And I understand the history. Like the history in that state is Tampa has owned Florida for a long time. Like that's a psychological thing that the Panthers have to overcome.
Right.
I like the way they're built. I think they're hungrier. I think home ice. I think Tampa, they still have their big boys who will rock. I'm certain Kucherov and Point and Hedman will show up. Vasilevsky, that's the ultimate X factor. That guy can steal a series on his own. But I think from a depth standpoint, Florida's better. I'm on Florida. I'm on Florida in 7, and I wouldn't be shocked if they won that in like 6. Big statement. If they get through Tampa, that feels like they're really cruising. Like that's a big pillar for them.
Yep.
But I'm on them. Okay, before we come back to Leafs-Bruins, let's head into the Central. Avalanche-Jets. This line, I think, is actually moving even more towards Colorado. On FanDuel, it's Colorado minus 138 to win the series.
I'm doing it again. Jets in 6. Jets in 6. And they somehow, I promise you, this is the last year. Because it's been 8 years in a row I've fallen in love with the Jets right before the playoffs, and I've done it again.
They've won 8 in a row.
I really like the way they're playing. I love that they took home ice. I like
their ability to win different ways. They went in there and clubbed them 7-0 the other day.
Yes, they did.
And they went on a 2-1 winning fest in January, like we're at the beginning of the year.
Well, there were 30-plus games where they didn't give up more than 3 goals.
Yeah.
They can do it some different ways.
Yes, they
can.
So
I like that about their team.
Yep.
This is the one I feel like I have the most difficulty with because you know how much I've loved Winnipeg, but I think Colorado is ultra serious as well. I had Colorado in 7. It hurts my heart to say
Orlowski line 1.
No, but here's the thing. You want me choosing the other team.
You're a cooler?
I lose a lot of these brackets.
Oh.
Because I feel pressure, and then what happens is you feel like you get skin in the game. I'm opposite George on a few of these. Mm-hmm. I just feel like I'd like to see Winnipeg run, but I feel like Colorado is that good.
I have Colorado in 7, but they're coming in totally different fashions, and I had a really tough time with this because of the same thing. 2 weeks ago, I thought Colorado, this was a really bad matchup for Winnipeg, regardless of how they played them during the regular season, which they crushed them. They're 3-0 against them, and they crushed them. Yeah. They have the better goalie by a substantial margin. Colorado speed, Colorado special teams, they score more than any team in the league. It really is the tale of 2 types of teams. And generally speaking, historically, the playoffs are more leaning towards the way Winnipeg plays. and Winnipeg wins. Right? It's sludge fast, push everything to the outside, and if that happens, Winnipeg will win this series. But if it breaks loose at all, if Winnipeg starts cheating, and I'm worried about Winnipeg's recent playoff history. Last year was really bad, like really, really bad, and I don't know. It's a coin flip for me. I'm going Colorado in 7. Okay, what else do we have here? We've got Dallas against Vegas, which let me see what FanDuel's got here. Dallas, Vegas, they have got this. Dallas minus 130. It's a lot of respect for Vegas.
That's a damn pick'em, right?
That's real close to a pick'em. Vegas is paying.
I'm gonna go Dallas
a
in
little
7,
bit of money.
man. I don't know. Maybe Dallas made the right moves, and Ottinger could be a massive factor. That's why I'm gonna take.
I'm
7 though, overtime 7. That's where my thoughts are.
I mean, it is a pick'em, but I say Dallas. They've been the most consistent team.
Mm-hmm.
But you haven't heard much out of Dallas. They just play well. They win.
They're loaded, man.
You know, you heard Megan Chaika talk yesterday about 2 of their lines being analytically like darlings.
Yeah,
top 2 lines.
Top 2 lines are unreal. They got that Stankoven kid.
Yeah, like the goalie's really good. Heiskanen, if he was in a Canadian market, he'd be Norris
Chris
bound like
Tanev's
that.
there.
Tanev, like they don't have a lot of weakness. I've got Dallas. Something about Vegas too. I mean, they deserve the respect because of what they've done, pedigree. Just something. It might just not. It might be a year where it just doesn't come
I agree.
together.
This to me, I'm on Dallas. I got Dallas in 7. I wouldn't be surprised if it was in 6 or less. It's I think eerily similar to what we just talked about, Florida, Tampa, and maybe even more so what Tampa was last year. Like the next year, a lot of turnover in Vegas. They got their cup. It hasn't been a hangover necessarily, but it hasn't been a smooth year. Like they haven't been
Well,
great.
they came out of the gates.
They came out, and then they really
they
faded,
dropped.
and they've had a lot of guys in and out of the lineup, and I know they're banking on Stone returning and others, but I like Dallas a lot. I think Dallas, I like Peter DeBoer as a coach. I like Ottinger as a better goalie.
Yeah.
Their forward lines are really, really stacked.
Balanced.
Their top 9 is really balanced.
Yeah.
I like Dallas, and I think home ice, just like Florida versus Tampa, they're hungrier. Florida versus Tampa, the same thing. I'm on Dallas. Dallas in 7. All right, Oilers, Kings. Oilers are only minus 192 to win the series on FanDuel.
That's why I'm.
That's
I'm
closer than I
saying-
would have thought it would be.
I think Edmonton will win, but I was saying Edmonton better show up and play hard.
Yeah.
Because LA can
Could be
play.
some ghosts and ghouls.
LA can play.
Quick demons.
Now, Cam Talbot has to be a difference maker. But I don't sleep on LA because of the way they're built down the middle. And Danault's a real tough player to play against. Kempe arrived as a top-tier player. They've got Danault, Kopitar, PLD down the middle. Like PLD, he's an
That's
X
what
factor.
concerns me is Pierre-Luc Dubois. I would prefer to have
What I'm talking about, an
Iafallo
X
and
factor.
Pilardi.
That guy's an excellent. Like that
Well,
guy
of
could be a
course.
series changer.
Yeah.
He snaps out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he could cause real havoc for the Oilers.
Yes.
Like real havoc for the Oilers.
Right.
That's probably what Henrique's matchup, I guess. Depending on how Edmonton.
Yeah, I would
puts their lineup
think so.
together.
I would think Henrique will be that third line center. And then Ryan McLeod might be, and Henrique goes to 4. But either way, Edmonton's got depth there, and that's what they added, a little pedigree, that Carrick. The Connor Carrick or Sam?
Sam
one
Carrick.
of them. Sam Carrick.
Yeah. Former Leaf alumni.
Big body, and they've got some guys, but I look at this. That Arvidsson is a little.
Yep.
He's a guy to play against. He's tough to play against. Fiala. People forget he's really skilled. Trevor Moore is a really good player.
Dirty goal, man.
I just don't sleep on him, but I think Edmonton should beat them in 6 or 7.
I have the
should,
Oilers
but
in
again,
6.
shoulda, coulda.
Yep,
woulda.
of course. I mean, that applies to every single matchup. There's going to be surprises. There'll be at least 2, if not 3. You can bank on it. It's going to happen. But I'm realizing I'm laying into the favorites here a fair amount. But I like the Oilers here. I do. All right, Canucks, Preds. Canucks minus 150 to win the series on FanDuel.
Van in 5.
Van in
Really?
5.
That's aggressive.
That I have trouble seeing. I think
They
Nashville
won the
could-
Pacific, man.
I understand, but Nashville has been red hot down the stretch.
That's my prediction.
Okay, Van in
5.
5. I like that. That takes a lot of confidence. Vancouver's been really good. Been great.
I think Saros gets 1 for sure, just the goalie alone. And I think there'll be another where maybe Demko has an off night. So for me, it's going 6 for sure in my mind. And I think if you look at the way Nashville's built, we forget Ryan O'Reilly. This is a
Exactly.
guy who's been a really good
He's
influence.
had a really good year, too.
Great season.
Really good year.
Philip Forsberg is, for me, an all-star player. Like
Yes.
I think
40
I've
goal
had him in
scorer.
my voting as far as like, I think he's, what is he, a left winger or left winger? He's a left winger.
Right shooting left winger.
Exactly. Like that's a guy who's a really good player, kind of under the radar. I think Vancouver, but I think it's a 7 game.
I do too. I got Canucks in 7.
Yeah.
I do too. I think Nashville's getting a couple games. I think they split the first 2. I think it's gonna be nervous energy around Vancouver too.
Yeah,
Like it's
good
their
for
first
them.
dance in a long time. Like I know they were in the COVID bubble and all that, but no one was in the building. That building hasn't been full in the playoffs in a long time.
Yeah. Be exciting.
And they're expected to win, a scenario they haven't been in probably since the Sedin era, right? Where
Yeah.
it's like you guys are coming in here and you're supposed to take care of business. Nashville, they've been playing playoff hockey, the old saying, for a long time. Do they carry it over or do they run out of steam? I think eventually they do. I'm on Vancouver. All right, Leafs-Bruins. FanDuel has the Bruins minus 120. The Leafs is effectively a pick 'em. This is real close to a coin flip, but it leans Bruins on FanDuel.
I got to go Bruins, and I'm going to go with just the one position, the 2 great goaltenders against. We don't know what we're going to get in Toronto.
That's the scary
It
thing.
is, man.
It's
Like-
it's terrifying that you don't know what if you had even Samsonov last year,
Yeah.
I'd be much more adamant about the Leafs.
Right.
Much more adamant. But
I'm going Leafs in 7, and it's going to be a long, drag-out series. I think there's going to be some overtimes and stuff like that, tight games. But you keep hearing, and you guys keep saying this, so I'm going to use your quotes. Like, there's got to be a time where somebody puts up their hand and goes, just, it's not happening on my watch.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's 34, 16, 88, 91, whoever, or if it's a Bobby
Domi
McMahon
or a
you know,
McMahon or
like that,
Bertuzzi.
it's just there's got to be something that breaks the cycle. Again, I'm not pointing to any one particular thing because you're right. I think Boston's goaltending and D are better, but I think the Leafs forwards as a group are deeper.
yes.
So again, how does that sort out? I think that sorts out to a long series. So
Yeah, I'm
where I'm
going
at.
Leafs in 7 to break the curse against the Bruins. I will say this about their defense. I like the Bruins top 4 better. I like Lindholm. McAvoy's a stud. He's a stud. Lindholm's a stud.
yeah,
But I like the Leafs defense better this year than I have in a long time. It's different. Edmondson's big. Lyubushkin's big. Benoit and McKay play aggressively. On paper, they're nowhere near as talented as the Bruins. I think they can be playoff effective. I think the mantra's got to be block every shot, hit everyone you see, and make it miserable on the opponent in front of the net. And that goes a long way in playoff hockey. And
Yeah.
they have not had that setup very often in the past, like all 3 pairings. I don't know if Liljegren's going to make it through 7 games. I'm not sure he will. But I like the fact that Morgan Riley has proven he's a playoff performer. I think Mo shows up. Like I think Riley will play, and he will bring positive impact to this series. But I like the way I like their size on defense, and I like their general attitude that they need to ramp it up. And I think that's where it starts as much as it does Matthews, Nylander, Marner. I want to see that 6-pack of defense go out there and say, we are hitting everybody. And every scrum you're getting punched in the face, and we're hacking and whacking. And if the game gets carried away, we'll fight. We'll do whatever you want. Because I think that can be a real tone setter that could actually change the way this team looks and feels.
It'd be a lot different.
It'd be a lot
it
different.
would. I just
It'd be a lot
I,
different.
I just want them to be more like I don't think a lot of them move the puck well.
No,
that's
they-
the only thing
they
that
don't.
scares me. Is you've got a 1 and then a bunch of 4 and 4, 5s and 6.
I agree, but there have
that's-
been defense cores in the past that have had success on runs.
yeah.
Like I look at that Montreal team in the bubble. That was like Sherratt and Edmondson. Now they had Weber and Petrie can move.
Right.
But it was just like 4 giants that went out and just said, good luck getting inside here.
Right.
Come get some.
Shut down.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Riley can move the puck. Liljegren can move the puck. Beyond that, yes, it's going to be more of a mystery. But I'm okay with that. Even Florida last year. Yet Montour could move the puck. Ekblad. Like people forget, Mark Stahl played a lot of minutes and just clogged stuff up and flipped pucks out.
Right.
That's what he did all the way to a cup final.
Forsling was a good player for them.
Forsling's a really good player.
It's just the Stahl. Like there was one of them. To me,
well,
there's
Gudas
3
was
here.
there too.
Yeah, but Gudas is a player. Like Gudas can skate and hit and move the puck. That's my biggest weakness right there. That group. It just
I don't disagree with you, but
I think they get trapped in their zone, and if you got to find a way to stop the cycle and be aggressive.
That's what I'm saying.
But you also have to advance the puck and get out of your zone. That's when they've been getting in trouble here recently. Is they can't get out of their zone. because they can't get there and they try and hit and they just don't move the puck. That's my biggest fear for that group. I think the goalie will be fine. I actually do think the goalie will be fine.
Yeah, see, goalie scares me more than anything else, and the big boys stepping up. Like if we're ranking the issues, it would be goalie, big boys meeting the moment for me, and then I would get to puck moving defense. I think in the playoffs, yes, you got to move the puck, but it's so clogged. It's a neutral zone game.
Yeah.
It's not as free flowing. It's just not in the playoffs. Generally speaking, maybe things will be different here, and you obviously can't treat it like a square, but I'll take block shots, hit, make life miserable. Over 5'10" can move the puck.
Oh no, you're
every day of the week.
Yeah, I'm not advocating for tiny people. You got to be able to.
You got to have both. You got to have both. Yeah. Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, starting Monday, listen every weekday during the 8 a.m., 3 p.m., and 5 p.m. hours for unique Leafs keyword. The more keywords you hear, the better your chances of winning. And when you hear one, you'll have 10 minutes to text the keyword and your name to 105050 and tell us what makes you a diehard Leafs fan. Before each home game, first up, we'll be calling one devoted fan to give them a pair of playoff tickets. We love that. Go time tomorrow night.
Yes.
8 p.m. start right here on TSN Radio. And then Game 2 on Monday, Game 3 on Wednesday, Game 4 Saturday night. Game 1, 4, and 7 will all be on a Saturday night.
Are you going to do hits down at Maple Leaf Square?
I intend on being down there, yes.
Wow.
We'll see what I don't think I'll be in Maple Leaf Square, but I'll be down there for the games. Got to get down there. All right, Hour 3 coming up. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.